Well, hey there, guys. Greetings and salutations, and welcome back to the channel for this installment of Open Mic, the broadcast where, of course, the mic is open, the floor is yours. What do you guys want to talk about? That is what we are here to discuss. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. For those of you maybe who've never been around an open mic before, think of it as a more casual, laid-back, just kind of relaxed version of the John Campea Show, where really all we do is just talk to each other. You guys tell me what you guys want to talk about. Now, there's two different ways for you guys to get a topic or question on open mic. The first way is if you're watching this any of the 23 hours a day that we're not streaming it live, you can use the tip link at streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And you can send it in there. Or if you are watching live right now, you can use the super chat feature and send it in using super chats. And as long as your topic or question is appropriate to be used on our show, we will get around to answering those. Also, a little bit later, as long as we don't go too long, I'll take just a couple of random questions from the live chat as well. Hello to everybody here who's here, from Robert, Matthew, Noah, Jim, everybody who's here already. Good to have you guys here as always. And I'm going to show you a new little feature we got here. Other people have it. I've just never used it. So a little thing, here we go. Check it out. Am I going to make it work? Yes. Here we go. Noah has written, please let him talk live action Zelda announcement Nintendo just made. Yeah, they did make that announcement, but I now finally have the ability to take live chats that you guys have sent in the live chat, and I can now finally bring it in to the show if I want to. So as we go on, if I see a chat or something that I really like, I can bring that up, or we can do that a little bit later. Anyway, with that down, guys, before we get into your live questions that you guys have been sending in, I thought I'd touch on this. So the Marvels is opening up this week. It did not play with the AMC Screen Unseen thing, as I thought there was a decent chance it would, but I said it was either going to be that or it was going to be Next Goal Wins, and ended up being Next Goal Wins. So now this Marvels thing, they have not done anything to get me excited for the movie. I'm interested in it because I like the first Captain Marvel and I love the Ms. Marvel show. The Ms. Marvel show is fucking fantastic. Like, other than WandaVision, it's the best thing Marvel has done on Disney+. That aside, they haven't done a great job. They've had a couple of pretty solid, trailers. Nothing great though. By the way, I'm just going to bring this up. Dive is asking, does anybody know where Ray's been? Ray's been here. Ray's been right outside my door, but Jonathan has not been coming into the studio lately because he's taking care of some sick kids at home. Everything's fine, but he's taking care of some sick kids at home, so he hasn't been able to come in. So since Jonathan isn't here to run the switcher and everything, I've had to do the show from in my office, and I have nowhere in my office for Ray to be. So Ray's been sitting out in the main office, monitoring chat and working on other things. So once Jonathan comes back, then we will see Ray back on the show. Anyway, that being said, I haven't been excited about the Marvels, but I'm interested in seeing it, right? As I am with any Marvel project, I'm interested, right? Now, we've already seen before that the opening weekend projections for the Marvels was anywhere between $75 to $80 million, which most films would kill to have an opening weekend of $75 million to $80 million for an opening weekend. But not all films are Marvel films. Marvel has a different standard, right? They expect to make more than that on their opening weekends. Not to mention the first Captain Marvel movie made twice that. I mean, because the first Ms. Marvel movie was a $1 billion film. By the way, can we put something to rest right now? Because I'm tired of seeing these brain dead zombies walking around. Like, whenever you bring up the fact, okay? The fact that Captain Marvel was a $1 billion film. A $1 billion film, right? That doesn't mean it was great, but it means it was fucking successful. Crazy successful, right? I'm getting so tired of these brain dead zombies who go, well, you see, John, the Captain Marvel it only made $1 billion because it was in between the two Avengers movies, the Infinity Wars and the End Games. It's only because that's the only reason it made $1 billion. Any movie would have made $1 billion. Hello, another MCU movie called Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, was also released in between those two Avengers movies, and it didn't come anywhere near making $1 billion. Okay? So can you just shut the fuck up? Can you just shut up when I hear this? Well, the only reason it made $1 billion, another MCU movie got released between those two movies, and it didn't get anywhere near $1 billion. So you want to try again, Sparky? Anyway, so next time you see anybody bring up, oh, you only made $1 billion because it was in between, just let them know. Say, hey, just so you know, friend, to your theory that the only reason the first Captain Marvel made $1 billion is because it was in between two Avengers movies. Just so you know, in case you're not aware, there was another MCU movie that released in between the two Avengers movies, and it didn't get anywhere near $1 billion. So according to your logic, that just by being in between those two Avengers movies automatically makes $1 billion. It didn't. So you might want to retire that line of thinking. Just wanted to throw that out there. Anyway. So that being said, the first Captain Marvel made over $1 billion, and it had a well over $150 million opening weekend. Even the high projections right now for the Marvels coming out this week is at 75 to 80 million, which again, like Five Nights at Freddy's just made $80 million opening weekend. Everybody said, that's a huge number. And it is for most films. It is, but it's not a huge number for a Marvel film because their standards are higher. Well, those projections of 75 to 80 million dollars, they've lowered the projections and lowered them by quite a bit. Check this out. This comes to us from Deadline, who wrote the following. Its latest sequel to 2019's Captain Marvel, The Marvels, which is also an extension of the Disney Plus series WandaVision and Ms. Marvel, has seen its weekend forecast collapse from $75 to $80 million 3 weeks ago, actually even just as early as 2 weeks ago, to around 60 million stateside. Some tracking services, such as Quorum, have lowered their estimates to 50 plus million. So the opening weekend forecast and projections for the Marvels has gone from an already underperforming $80 million. Again, great, I acknowledge, great for most movies, but not great for a Marvel movie. So an already underperforming $80 million. And now it's dropped to 60. That's where most of the projectors are putting it around 60. But again, Quorum is even saying maybe as low as 50. And I'll tell you what, it's not hard to believe because when I go, this is the AMC page for my local movie theater, the AMC Tyler Galleria in Riverside. Okay. The AMC Tyler Galleria in Riverside. Now, if you go to this is for the Friday, not for the Thursday, but this is for the Friday, the official opening day, even though we all know it opens on Thursday, but the official opening day on Friday. Now, if I go to the Dolby Cinema 7:15 p.m. show, okay, basically a sellout, right? Like all of the main sections basically sold out. You got a couple of seats on the wings, and then the only other empty seats are like the very front section where nobody really likes to sit. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. All right, but what if we look in any of the non-Prime theaters, the non-Dolby Cinema Prime? Well, let's look at the IMAX screen, the 8:30 p.m. IMAX. Ready? Opening Friday night, IMAX screen, 8:30 p.m. Let's take a look. They've sold 7, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. They've sold 20 seats. For the Friday night IMAX, 8:30 p.m., they've sold 20 seats. Okay. Well, maybe not everybody likes IMAX. it's a little bit more expensive to go IMAX. Okay, well, let's go to just one of their regular theaters, okay? The non-Dolby, non-IMAX, just one of the regular theaters inside the AMC Tyler Galleria. And let's look at the 6:30 p.m. showing, okay? You following me? 6:30 p.m. showing, opening Friday night. How many tickets have they sold to that theater? None. Goose egg. El zero zipotius in the Latin. No seats sold at that show. None. And even if we go to the Prime, let's go back to the AMC Prime. We already saw that the 7:15 show, okay, most of the seats are sold. Okay, great. What about 10 p.m.? What about the next showing in the AMC Prime? Quarter full? This is the opening Friday night, guys. This is the opening Friday night. And I'm not in some, Tudorville, Hickstown. I'm in Riverside, California, which is a big city, and how outside of Los Angeles. And that's a popular movie theater. The AMC Riverside is a popular movie theater. We're talking DC kind of numbers. And look, I get it. There are also a couple of extenuating circumstances. Number one, like DC, although not as bad as DC, Marvel hasn't been putting out their best product lately. I mean, I don't care how big of a fan of Marvel that you are. And you know I'm a fan of Marvel. But guys, you got to be realistic. The last couple of years, they have not been putting out their best product. They've had a couple of great things, but they've also had a whole bunch of mediocre things, right? They have not, and we're coming off of the what the hell was that Secret Invasion? Like, what was that? The only really good thing they've had lately was Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And that was kind of isolated from everything else. But you had Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which was a dog. Coming off of Secret Invasion, the viewership, listen, I like Loki season 2. I do. I like it more than season 1. But the viewership numbers have not been fantastic. It hasn't been getting great viewership numbers too. So overall, Marvel's been in a bit of a slump. They haven't been putting out their best product. And also on top of that, like a number of other movies that have come out during the actors' strike, none of the cast has been able to go, they haven't been able to promote the film. The cast has not been able to go out onto the talk show circuit, radio, social media, all that kind of stuff. And we haven't had a bona fide hit film, Five Nights at Freddy's notwithstanding, because that's a bona fide, it was a $20 million film, so it's not hard. But the Marvels is going to make a lot more money than Five Nights at Freddy's is overall. But Five Nights at Freddy's, sure. But since, Barbenheimer, which the casts for those movies were able to go out and promote the films, we haven't really had a bona fide hit since, because actors have not been able to go out and promote their films. And like it or not, that is an important part of promoting a movie. That is a vital part of the marketing machine for these movies. So and one of the reasons why a lot of films have moved. The whole reason Dune moved, because remember, Dune was supposed to come out this week. I think it was November 3rd. Dune was supposed to come out on November 3rd. It's supposed to be in theaters right frickin' now. But they're like, we can't have our cast go out and promote the movie. So let's move it. And a bunch of other movies have hightailed it out too. So those are extenuating circumstances too. I acknowledge that. I understand. I agree. But yeah, man. Listen, let me go to the Thursday showing here, actually. Let's jump back in here and we'll go to, now this is for Thursday. I know the type is too small, you can't read it, but this is Thursday, November 9th, the actual opening day. So let's look at the Dolby Cinema at 7:15. Okay, that's pretty much a sellout, right? Other than the front section and a couple of single seats. What about the IMAX on the Thursday night? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 20 seats. 20 seats on the opening Thursday night. What about the Prime Theater at 10 p.m.? All right, a third full, a third to a half full. Okay, for a 10 p.m. So, all right. 6:30 p.m. showing in a regular screen. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 seats sold. Opening night Thursday, 10 seats sold in the regular theater, the non-Prime theater. The Prime theater, 7:15 p.m., almost sold out. That's fine. That's great. But one screening selling out does not a hit make. Does not a hit make. So when I read that report that said the opening weekend projections have been lowered, I'm kind of like, yeah, I believe it. Now, Adam Summers in the live chat, he's saying an Iron Man or Captain America movie would break servers. Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, that's if Marvel were to come out, I'm not saying they should do this. I'm not saying they're going to do this. I'm just saying, Adam, in theory, yes. If tomorrow they were to announce a Captain America movie with Steve Rogers or an Iron Man movie with Tony Stark, YouTube would blow up, everything would blow up. And yeah, but that's going back to the, that's going back to like the era of when Marvel was still making really great films, right? Really great films on a consistent basis. They have still made a couple of really great films, right? Shang-Chi, fan-fucking-tastic. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, fan-fucking-tastic. But those are in the minority. And Adam is saying something that is incorrect. Movie trailers, TV ads, radio ads, internet ads, etc. do much more to sell a movie than the actor appearances. You know what, Adam? The last 4 months have proved that you're wrong. And by the way, 4 months ago, I would have slightly agreed with you. Like, I wouldn't say much more, but I 4 months ago, before the actor strike, I would have to a degree agreed with you on that. But the last 4 months has kind of showed the industry. And this is why Warner Brothers said, we got to get Dune 2 the hell out of Dodge. We got to move this movie. The last 4 months has shown us that these promotions, that these things do a lot more, like having the cast go out and personally, because that's what makes it personal, right? When you're watching a celebrity that you like or that you're familiar with and you're seeing them being personable and sitting down and talking, and like, it gives people more of a personal connection. And what the last 4 months has shown us is that, like Joshua Rose is saying, the movie stars matter. It's not the be all end all. It's not the night and day. It's not the alpha and omega, but it matters. And the last 4 months have proved that it's really very important that the stars are able to go out and do the promotional tours. It's really important. And again, I didn't think it was as important 4 months ago, but after everything we've seen and how it's all transpired the last couple of months, it's becoming apparent. It's pretty damn important. It's pretty damn important. So how low will the opening weekend of the Marvels be? I don't know. I think that one number they were talking about, the 60, I don't think it'll go as low as 50, but I think the around 60 million, I think that's the way I'm feeling it. I think that's probably where it's coming in. It ain't going to get to that 75 or 80 million. Not with all those empty seats I was just looking at. And yeah, yeah. And so, we'll see how it goes. Look, regardless of that, I'm still interested in the movie. I was still sitting in my AMC Screen Unseen screening last night, waiting for it to start, and kind of had my fingers crossed that it would be the Marvels. Now, I was perfectly happy that it was Next Goal Wins, but I was kind of hoping it would be the Marvels. I'm going to go see it on Thursday. I hope it's good. I don't have a lot of belief that it'll be good, but I have some, and I'm hoping that it will be. So I don't know. We'll kind of see. Anyway, guys, now let's get to the whole reason we're here, which is to take your topics and questions. But before we get to those, we got to pay some of the bills around here. We're going to take a moment and thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode, our friends at Fume and Rocket Money. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Fume. Quitting cold turkey is great in theory, but you and I both know it's way more difficult than that. And that's why there's a better way to break your bad habits. We're not talking about some fake online promises. We're talking about our sponsor, Fume. And they look at the problem in a different way. Instead of a drastic, uncomfortable change, why not just remove the bad from your habit? Fume is an innovative, award-winning flavor-aired device that does just that. See, instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses delicious flavors. You get it. Instead of bad, Fume is good. It's a habit you're free to enjoy and makes replacing your bad habit easy. I personally didn't know what to expect when I first got my Fume. I mean, I've never liked vapes, but my goodness, the taste. The first time I tried it, I was completely sold on it. It was incredible. Stopping is something we all put off because it's hard, but switching to Fume is easy, enjoyable, and even fun. Fume has served over 150,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that can't be you. You gotta try the new Solano Fume. It's made with a premium walnut barrel and an onyx-coated mouthpiece that has a slightly softer finish. Start the holidays off right with the good habit by going to tryfume.com/Campea and getting the journey pack today. Fume is giving listeners of the show 20% off until December 1st when they use my code Campea to help make starting the good habit that much easier. So start the good habit at tryfume.com/Campea to save an additional 20% off the journey pack today until December 1st and 10% off year-round. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Rocket Money. Do you struggle to save money every month? With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify all those sneaky subscriptions that keep charging you month after month and cancel any you no longer use. For example, did you know that over 80% of people have subscriptions that they've completely forgotten about? It's too easy to subscribe to a free trial of something and then completely forget about it once you stop using it. That's why I'm such a big fan of Rocket Money. I've told you guys before that when I started using Rocket Money, I realized that I was still subscribed to a gym in another city I had moved away from 2 years ago. Also, my music service? Yeah, I found out I was still subscribed to 2 others. How much do you think you're paying a month on subscriptions? Most people think they're paying $80 a month, but they're actually paying closer to $200. That's why I use Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. With Rocket Money, you can easily cancel the ones you don't want with just the press of a button. With over 5 million users and counting, Rocket Money has helped save its customers on an average of $720 a year and $1 billion in total savings so far. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and manage your money the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Fume and Rocket Money for sponsoring this episode and for making our shows possible. By the way, guys, make sure you guys go out and check out our sponsors. Use our promo codes. That is actually the best way to support our channel because that's the way that our sponsors know that sponsoring the John Campea channel is working for them. So thank you to everybody who goes and checks out our sponsors. All right, guys. With that all down, we should move on here to your questions that you guys have been sending in. We're going to start off with people who've been using our tip link to send in questions. And we're going to start off here with Wong is Forever Wongers. One of the few things I liked about the She-Hulk show, actually. I'd be down for the MCU using Loki to warn the Avengers about Kang. The team wouldn't trust his change or his claims, thereby testing his arc. And I'd like to see his reaction to the core of the only people, Tony Cap being gone, plus that Thor reunion. Well, I mean, the one thing they'd be able to do is that Thor would probably be able to, Thor, who is the core now member of the Avengers, I guess, and he is, I guess, the strongest Avenger. I don't know. He would obviously vouch for him at this point because he's seen Loki change. He's fought alongside Loki. But I think that is probably what they're starting to set up. We'll find out. By the way, Friday, we won't be doing an open mic on Friday. Instead, on Friday afternoon, which is the day after the Loki finale airs, we're going to do instead of open mic, we're just going to do a full open Loki season 2 discussion on Friday. So make sure you guys check out the Loki finale on Thursday night, and then Friday afternoon, we're just going to do a full open Loki discussion for season 2. And I hope you guys, as Stavros is saying, an after show at last. It's not really an after show, considering it's just kind of wrapping up the whole season, but I guess it's kind of like an after show. Make sure you guys come and join me for that. All right, let's keep going here. Duck writes, Echo actually looks good. Oh my God, that trailer rocked. Super unexpected, TVMA intense trailer. I'm so into it now, but still very cautious. I am 100% in agreement with you on that. The trailer was shockingly good. I can't believe how good the trailer looked. It was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal trailer. But that doesn't take away all of the things I've heard coming out of the production of Echo. And it's still a very big red flag to me that they're dropping the whole series at once. Right or wrong, that implies to me that they don't believe in the show very much. That they don't believe if they released it week after week like they do with their other shows, that it'll get a positive word of mouth going and build their audience week after week. It feels to me like they're just trying to dump it and get it out of the way. But hey, the trailer is fantastic, and it gave me a lot more hope for this show than I've had so far. So we'll see how that goes. All right, next up, we got Bad Aussie Accents Coming, writes, good day from Australia. Have 90% of films released in the US bombed this year? No, that's not true. The international box office is still recovering post-COVID, but you Yanks still avoid the cinema except for event films like Barbie. Will attendance ever go back to normal? No, actually, that's not true. Actually, there have been a couple of high-profile, The Flash, Indiana Jones, for example. There have been a couple of high-profile films that have drastically underperformed. No doubt about that. But there have also been a lot of mid-tier films that have done fairly respectable, actually some really respectable. And it's not just the Barbenheimers and stuff like that, or the Mario Brothers, or Five Nights at Freddy's, or things like that. There have actually been a number of really nice little success stories. It's just that most people, understandably, focus kind of on the bigger high-profile films that have underperformed, the Indiana Joneses, the Flashes, and stuff like that. But yeah, listen, there's still no doubt. You know, Deadline did an article on this about 2 months ago. There is still a percentage of people who used to go to the movies regularly pre-pandemic who have not gone back to the movies yet. It's getting better, but I mean, that is part of the box office right now. It's getting there, but it's going to take time. All right, good question, man. All right, next up. We've got The Dumb of All Fears writes, what are the odds Universal greenlights Happy Death Day 3? Very small. Hear me out. It's a modest budget, usually short production time, and thanks to the pandemic/strikes leaving gaps in the upcoming release windows of a familiar IP could benefit the studio. The problem is the second one did not do as good as the first one. By the way, Happy Death Day is the first one, is one of my biggest, most delightful surprise movies of the past 5, 6, 7 years. I went to go see that movie not really caring about it. It looked like a throwaway, dumb little cheap budget made by college students horror movie. Happy Death Day is wonderful. I really liked it. The second one was not as good, and it did not do as well. So, and the first one wasn't a massive hit either by any stretch. So I can't see them greenlighting a third film. I mean, I'd be interested in a third film. I just don't think they're going to do it, but we'll see. All right, next up. Inalo writes, I don't know if anyone has suggested this yet, but what about Deadpool threesome? I'm in. That's a good title for a third Deadpool movie. Deadpool, threesome. I don't know who the third is because you got Wolverine and Deadpool, but whatever. I'm in. I love the title. They just got to make it make sense. All right. Next up here, we got Bobby Brake who writes, I went to the mystery movie at AMC. Before it started, a group of people behind me were talking about how they were here because they watched John Campea. I turned around and said, hi, film fan community. Your show brings strangers together. Oh, that is so fun to hear. You know, it's funny when Ann and I were at the AMC Screen Unseen, and as soon as the movie ended, a gentleman in front of us turned around and said, John, I was wondering if I'd run into you here. I was there for that. And then as we walked out of the theater, like 2 or 3 more people came up saying they were here. And it's just really, really cool. And I love hearing from film fans who say they found other viewers of the show at a movie screening or something like that. That's really fun to hear, man. Thank you for sharing that with me, Bobby. That made me feel pretty good, man. All right. Next up, we got VFX Artist who writes, "Hey, John, want to ask your thoughts are on how the SAG strikes are impacting the visual effects industry. A lot of people have lost their jobs and vendors shutting down due to the work completely drying up. The longer this goes, the harder we get hit." True. Now, it has not hit the visual effects industry as hard as it will soon. See, even though the actors went on strike, right? The reality is, though, there is still all that stuff that had been shot prior to the actors' strike, and all that stuff is when the post-production is being done on it. Visual effects are being done. So I've got a buddy of mine who owns a prominent 3D visual effects company, and they've been very busy. But that work that had built up prior to the strike is going to run out. And then they're going to hit, and even if the strike ends tomorrow, there's going to be a gap window of when there was stuff. It's going to hit the visual effects industry hard. It's going to hit them hard. Yet another example of people who have nothing to do with the strike are going to get hit very, very hard with the consequences of the strike. And it's just an unfortunate part of the reality of work stoppages and stuff like that, particularly in this industry. All right, next up. Anonymous viewer writes, "Didn't think the mystery movie was the Marvels because the review embargo for the film is not lifted till Wednesday, and Next Goal Wins reviews were already out for a while." That is actually not relevant. There have been secret screenings in other theater chains where the movie of the secret screening actually ended up being a film that the review embargo had not yet been lifted. So there's nothing wrong with your line of thinking there, but that did not rule it out. Like I was very much aware that the review embargo for the Marvels hadn't lifted yet, but I've seen examples of this happening before. So just because the review embargo hadn't lifted, remember that only applies to film critics. That in and of itself did not rule out it being the Marvels. Obviously it didn't end up being the Marvels, but it wasn't ruled out just because of the review embargo. All right. Next time, by the way, and I have gone to press screenings and held my review embargoes only then to realize there had been fan screenings of it before my review embargo had been lifted, and other fans were all over social media writing about what they thought about the movie. All right. Sharks tanking / sinking. I read a description for the Marvel Spotlight banner on Saturday, according to which Spotlight will focus on street-level stakes over large MCU continuity and grounded character-driven stories. Sounds perfect for certain Marvel characters. Yeah, that's a part of it. Now, the key differentiator with the Marvel Spotlight is that they're meant to be kind of standalone stories, right? That's why they're giving it their own intro music. That's why they got their own banner. It's going to be something that denotes to the audience that anybody at any time can step in and watch one of these shows, and you don't have to get caught up on other things to watch it. On top of that, they are going to focus them on more street level things. So in other words, here's the translation. When they say street level stakes, what they mean is not super high budget. That's what it means. Street level stakes means not super high budget. So, but still, I kind of like the idea. I like the idea of Marvel Spotlight, and let's see how it all works out. They're launching it, of course, with Echo, and hopefully that show is as good as the trailer makes it out to be. All right. Garden Variety Vagabond writes, "So does that clause in the SAG/studio negotiations then allow actresses' likenesses to be used with fake nudity without their consent? Maybe. The tragedy of the abuse of Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct times 1,000 comes to mind." See, that's the thing. And apparently the studios and the AMPTP reps watched the John Campea Show, because about 5 minutes before my show ended today, because I went off on an angry rant against the studios for this idiotic AI stuff they want. They want to be able to own the likenesses and reuse the likenesses of actors without their consent, even after they died, without getting the consent of the estate. Ridiculous. because about 5 minutes after the show ended, or before the show ended, this article came out that the AMPTP has changed the language in it and resubmitted the deal to the actors, who apparently right now are going over it again. Hopefully this breaks the strike, and tomorrow we'll be talking about the strike being over. But, we'll find out. All right. With that down, guys, let's move over and start taking your live. For those of you who are watching live right now, let's go over and start taking your questions here, shall we? Let's see. Where are we starting with? We're starting with Danny Sanchez, who writes, saw an early screening of Trolls 3 on Sunday, thumbs down. You guys know I no longer accept press invites to anything. Just as a principal rule, I don't accept press. Now, I got my invite today. Let me see if I can open this up here. I got my invite today to, there it is. I don't know if you can see it. My Trolls invite to go to this screening. And I'll tell you what, while I no longer accept press invites to anything, I'm considering going to that one. Now, you might be asking yourself, John, why would you want to go to that one? The only reason I would consider going to this one is because, as you guys know, my wife, Anne, who is currently studying for her doctorate, pretty soon she's going to be Dr. Ann Campea, getting her 5th degree, 2 bachelor degrees, 2 master degrees, and now getting her doctorate. She's currently vice president of a big national marketing agency, but she used to be a big person over at Hasbro. And one of her brands at Hasbro that she kind of was overseeing was Trolls. And so it was a big deal in our household when the first Trolls movie came out. Now, since being at Hasbro, she's been at Apple and Amazon. So she hasn't been at Hasbro for a while. But I know the Trolls brand is kind of special to her. So I'm maybe thinking about, even though I don't know, I probably won't, because I'd be breaking my rule. But, it's Anne, so maybe we'll see. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going here. Next up, we've got Suthius, who writes, from Monica's reaction in the trailer of the person in the white suit walking in front of her, perhaps the same person in the Bifrost, I think it's her mom from a different reality, different from Multiverse of Madness. I agree. I think we're looking at a Maria Rambeau, who, of course, in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, she ended up becoming Captain Marvel instead of Carol Danvers. And I think that's exactly who that person is. I don't know for sure. I'm not willing to put money on that, but that's who I think is the person in the white suit walking in front of her in the trailer that they're setting up the big mystery. But also, I think it's going to be more than one person. I think we're about to get multiple cameos. I don't really have a big guess as to who, but we'll find out. So I am actually in 100% agreement with you on Suthius. Whether we're right or wrong, we'll find out. All right, next up, Ezekiel just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, Ezekiel. Appreciate that, man. Next up, Azaz writes, John, I watched Highlander, fantastic film, one of my top 10 favorite films of all time. I love the story of each McLeod, Kurgan, and Ramirez. I'll be there day one for the release of the remake. I know there's still a lot of you guys who have never seen Highlander, the original Highlander, not the TV show, none of the crappy sequels. I mean, the original Highlander. Who wants to live forever? I mean, you gotta watch the original Highlander. It is one of my all-time favorite films to this day. And I'm very, very excited that not only are we finally getting a well-deserved reboot with modern technology and modern storytelling, but Henry Cavill is going to be the new Highlander. I'm immortal. I have in me the blood of kings. They're going to use the Queen soundtrack. They're using the Queen soundtrack. Oh my God. I cannot wait for this movie. I am very, very excited for this movie. All right, guys, just so you know, We still have many more questions to come, but before we get to those, I'm going to take a break here and we're going to hear from one last sponsor. And just so you know, I'm going to turn off, we got a lot of super chats, so I'm going to turn off the super chats in about 1 minute. So if you still have a question or comment you want to fire it in now, because I'm turning off the super chats before we come back from the commercial break. But while we do that, we are going to hear from the main sponsor of the John Campea YouTube channel, my mobile service provider, and they should be yours, Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. Signing your life away to a big wireless provider is kind of like being trapped on a roller coaster from hell. Sure, it looks like fun at first. They probably even threw in a free phone, but now you can't get off. Month after month of insane bills and unexpected thrills, like overages and surprise fees. If that sounds like your current big wireless plan, it's time to get off the ride with Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are just $15 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for just $15 a month. You guys know before I came to Mint Mobile, I was paying triple what I am paying now on the standard big wireless plan, and I will never go back. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get your new unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped right to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to Ryan Reynolds and Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode here on the John Campea YouTube channel. All right, guys, with that down, let's get back to your questions here, shall we? We're going to pick things up here with, that was Azaz. Now we got Ismael Montoya who writes, hey, John, let the speculation begin. I really think the mystery woman in the Marvel's trailers, Maria Rambeau, 100% agree, as Captain Marvel, binary, like X-Men 164. I don't think, see, I've heard some people speculating that it's actually going to be the Captain Marvel from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That one never died. She just got buried under rubble and she's actually still alive, and she comes now as a part of the incursion into our universe. I don't know that I believe that, but I do believe it's going to be a version of the Rambeau iteration of Captain Marvel coming in to fight alongside our Captain Marvel. Maybe yes, maybe no, or maybe it's somebody completely different. By the way, just throwing this out there, I still believe Shang-Chi is going to pop up. Especially with all the Bengal stuff and everything, I still believe Shang-Chi is going to show up. And one of the main reasons I believe Shang-Chi is going to show up is because not long ago, you guys remember we talked about this on the show. Good Canadian kid Simu Liu, who plays Shang-Chi. If you've not seen his show, Kim's Convenience, one of the best comedies made in the last decade or so. It's fantastic. He said, when asked about when are we going to see Shang-Chi again, he very slyly said, you might just see him sooner than you think, and gave a little wink. So just throwing that out there that I believe we're going to see Shang-Chi in this movie. Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't have any proof of that. Like nobody's told me that he is, but that's just kind of my guess. All right. Next up, we got Noor who writes, have you heard they're making a Barbenheimer movie? They are. It's not Asylum, you know, the makers of Snakes on a Train and Transmorphers and stuff like that. They also made Sharknado. It's not them, but it's going to be a movie like that. So it's not like Universal's making it, but it's going to be some kind of joke little movie, I think. All right. Dr. Stinky writes, John, you were right. Legend of Zelda, the movie, is in the works. Wes Ball is set to direct. I'm not a huge Zelda fan, but I'll be there. Yeah, I saw that news. I'm not going to talk about it at length here right now because we're going to save that to talk about tomorrow on the John Campea Show. But I've been saying for a long time that I think they're going to make a Zelda movie. And what else have I said? I said I think it's going to be live action. It should be live action. 100% it should be live action. There's not many Nintendo movies that you could do live action, but it should be live action. I mean, you can't do Mario live action. They're trying that before. You can't do Super Smash Brothers live action, but Zelda, you can do that live action. And yeah, I'm stoked about it. Again, we'll talk more about it, me and Sean, tomorrow on the John Campea Show. So make sure you guys come back and join us for that. All right. Oh, that's the wrong one. Next up, Jesse Roy writes, "Hey, John, I saw a poster for Terrifier 3. Yeah, I gotta admit, I don't really care about the Terrifier movies. I wish I cared, but I really don't. And so, I know Taylor would be very excited about a Terrifier 3, but yeah, not me. All right. Jesse Rose writes, the Terrifier 2 made over $15 million. Woo! I mean, that's good because I think they make the movie for like $20,000 or something like that. So that's good, but not exactly blown up the box office. All right, John K writes, live action Zelda, Sony movie, I excite thoughts. Again, I've said for a long time, I think they should do a Zelda movie and I think they should do a live action. So I'm not surprised to hear the news, but I am excited to hear the news. We'll discuss it more tomorrow. CR writes, Peter Jackson writing The Lord of the Rings 4. Somehow Sauron has returned. You know, one of the things I hate about fandom these days is that so many fans, they decide how they want a movie to go in their heads. And then if the movie doesn't do the story they wrote in their own heads, then they go, oh, well, that sucked. Like, I hate that. There were many ways The Rise of Skywalker could go. And they made almost, and okay, I didn't go into The Rise of Skywalker thinking, well, I hope they do this, and Rey needs to do this, and Poe needs to do this, and Finn needs to do this, and Yoda needs to do this, and that. I don't go into movies thinking this is what they should do. No. I just want a good movie. That's all. You do what you're going to do. Just make a good movie. That's all I care about. But my God, every bad decision they could have made with that movie, they made. I mean, it was so bad. And I understand there are those of you out there who actually like The Rise of Skywalker, and that's great. That's why film is subjective. I'm not trying to yuck on your yum. But as somebody who really liked The Force Awakens, I just could not believe how bad that movie was. And I got excited when they announced that they were bringing the Emperor back. I got excited about that. But I got excited because I foolishly assumed they wrote a really good story and underlying narrative about how and why the Emperor is back, and they did none of that. Again, was the only problem. That was not the only problem. And by the way, D's Weebos, I didn't actually mind horses on Star Destroyers. I hated The Rise of Skywalker. I did. But I did not hate the idea, because George Lucas himself had a habit of trying to mix and mingle and juxtaposition the idea of the natural world with the technological world, right? That was the whole point of the Battle of the Ewoks on Endor at the end of Return of the Jedi, which is one of the greatest things ever. So having while a ship is still in atmosphere and these horses, and the way they explained it was fine. In a truly terrible, terrible, terrible movie, horses on Star Destroyers was actually one of the things I didn't mind so much, but that's just me. All right, let's keep going here. Again, I hit the wrong button. Let's see here. David Cushmore writes, is the Marvels going to be good from the first film? Let me try this again. Is the Marvels going to be good? Probably you meant to put a comma in there. From the first film when they did Captain Marvel in 2019, I don't know. I hope it's good. I mean, the first Captain Marvel movie, I don't think was great. I thought it was good. I thought it was mid-tier MCU. Not upper tier, Thor Ragnarok, Civil War, Winter Soldier. I don't think it was top tier like those. I thought it was mid-tier MCU. So I think there's definitely building blocks there. And you got Ms. Marvel in there, who I think is fabulous. I think they have pieces to put together a good, solid movie. The question is, will they? And I just don't have the answer to that. I just don't. The trailers have not been great. They've had a couple of solid trailers, but overall the marketing campaign has not been great. And, we'll see. We'll just see how it all works out. All right, next up. We've got, again, I hit the wrong button. I'm hitting the wrong button all day. That was David Cushmore. By the way, can you tell I'm still getting used to running everything by myself again? It's not easy. Bucks of Basement writes, with the live action Zelda being announced and it's produced by Avi Arad and Sony Tom Holland as Link is inevitable. No, not at all. Not remotely. Actually, I don't think it's going to be Tom Holland. By the way, there's still debate amongst people about whether Link should speak. Absolutely, Link should speak. 100% Link should speak. I bet that he doesn't speak in the game. Well, actually, it's implied he speaks in the game. He definitely communicates in the game. But this is a movie. It's not a game. This is a movie. And yes, 100%, the main character should 100% speak. 100% he should speak. All right. So but I don't think it's going to be Tom Holland. I don't think it's going to be Tom Holland. But then again, I won't be opposed to Tom Holland doing it. Let me be clear. If they announce Tom Holland, I'll be perfectly happy. You know who's going to be? You know who I'm going to say, right? Guys in the live chat. Who am I about to say? Go ahead, throw in your thoughts. Who I'm about to say is going to do the voice of Link. I'm going to call it right now. Robert is saying Timothy Chalamet. Nope, not going to be Timothy Chalamet. Not going to be Timothy. Anybody else got a guess? Anybody? There it is. Chris Pratt, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Pratt. The voice of the special. The voice of Mario. The voice of Garfield. But most importantly, the voice of Mario. Right? They had great success. Nintendo making this great success. But John, you can't have Chris Pratt playing Mario. Maybe you can. Yeah, this one's not animated, so probably not going to be Chris Pratt. All right. But you know what? Somebody else mentioned it. Timothy Chalamet playing it? I can see Timothy Chalamet playing it. But you know what? I honestly think they'll go for somebody younger. I think they'll go for somebody in their mid-teens. Somebody who's probably an unknown that we don't know. And it'll probably somebody in their mid-teens, I'm guessing. All right. Thanks a lot for that, Cameron. Oh, no. Yes, that's it. Next up, we got Mason Thurmond, who writes, Next Goal Wins was trash. I rather watch Expendables 4. No. I mean, Next Goal Wins is probably my least favorite Taika Waititi movie. I don't think it's good. But it wasn't trash. There's too many good things in it to consider it trash. It had a couple of like good laugh out loud moments, but most importantly to me, the characters were endearing. I loved the characters. I couldn't help but root for the characters and cheer for the characters, and I liked the characters. And that's a big thing. Like that's a big thing to do in a movie, to make an audience actually like the characters is a big accomplishment. Again, I'm not going to say it's a good movie because I don't think it's a good movie. I wouldn't recommend it to people, but I don't think it was trash. It's certainly not on the level of Expendables 4. But again, it's all subjective. If that's how you felt, that's how you felt, and I respect that. All right, next up. Raymond Verrata writes, you think there's a Captain Marvel sequel curse? Marvels might not do well, and Shazam 2, the former Captain Marvel, didn't do well. Black Adam, yeah. No, I mean, for those of you who don't know, what Raymond Verrata is referring to is that Shazam, for many, many decades, Shazam was not Shazam's name. Shazam's name was Captain Marvel. Yes, Marvel and DC both had a character called Captain Marvel. And Shazam was simply the word that Captain Marvel or Billy would utter. By the way, Shazam is an acronym. How many of you guys know what the acronym? I think it's Samson. I think S is for Samson. H is for Hercules. A is for Achilles. Solomon. Oh yeah, you know what? You're right. Solomon, not Samson. Solomon, Hercules, Achilles, and I can't remember. Apollo is one of them. I think you're right. Sean is in the live chat saying Apollo. Oh, Raymond Verrata's got it. It's Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, Mercury. Thank you, Raymond. You had it all ready to go. You had it nailed down right away about who it was going to be. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, then there were lawsuits. DC changed the name of Captain Marvel just to Shazam, which honestly is a better name for him anyway. But no, I don't think it's a curse. I just think it's, a collection of circumstances. All right. B-Town writes, what's up, OG Campea? I'm thinking the big bad in the Marvels is a Ronin variant, very possible, from another universe. The weapon she's wielding is very similar to the one Ronin had. What are your thoughts? Well, listen, the new trailer hints to me that this new accuser is from another reality, was probably a disciple of Thanos in that reality, seems to have the power stone inside of her hammer, much likened unto the way that Ronan the Accuser did. So maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. But yeah, there are several things that we got in this new trailer that do kind of imply that. So we'll see. And listen, that's why I said, if you guys saw the John Campea Show this morning, one of the things that I said was that the new trailer, in a way, kind of reeks of desperation because of showing Cap and showing Iron Man and then having the words, you got to be there to see the moment everything changes. So that all reeked of desperation. But I also said, when you take those aspects out, it was a fairly solid trailer. When you take out the stupid Tony appearance and Steve appearance and will you be there when everything changes? Like, you take that out, those screaming desperation things out. The trailer that you're left with was actually a fairly solid trailer. And I think they gave us some really good insight into the story makeup of it. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. All right, next up. King Daddy Goat writes, Blaze Runner director taking on Zelda. Thoughts? I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what Blaze Runner is. I don't think you misspelled Blade because, Denis Villeneuve was the director of Blade Runner. So I'm not familiar. But at any rate, very excited for a Zelda movie. We're going to go more in depth on it tomorrow, and I'm excited about it. All right. Robert Presser writes, I took my godson to see Five Nights at Freddy's for his birthday, and it was awesome to see him geek out over it since he played all the games. Makes me want to play them. Listen, never underestimate. A movie can be good. A movie can be bad. But the power of taking an IP we know and putting it on a screen, there's a power in that. And so even when recognizable IP gets turned into a movie and the movies may stink, they can still make money because they touch a part of us that is just happy to see it up there. You know what I mean? And, especially with the Five Nights at Freddy's, I can see why it would appeal to younger kids too, because it's colorful, the animatronics, the animals, it's a simple story. I don't think Five Nights at Freddy's is all that good. I don't think it's terrible. I kind of feel the same way about Five Nights at Freddy's as I feel about Next Goal Wins. It's not good, but it's not terrible, and it has its redeeming qualities, and I can see why some people will like it. But yeah, man, never underestimate the power of a recognizable IP on screen. They may turn out good, they may turn out bad, but it's going to press a button with a lot of people, and I think there's power in that. All right, Robert, thanks for sharing that, man. All right, next up. Omarua, hope I'm saying that right, man, says, did you see that Nintendo just announced a lot of people writing in about this, announced a live action Legend of Zelda movie with Miyamoto and Avi Arad producing, Sony Pictures. Yep. Again, I think many of you guys included, a lot of us called it. We thought they were going to make this one next, and we thought it was going to be live action. Now, one of the things that Miyamoto said in the interview was that it doesn't really have an update as to when it's going to come, just that they've been working on it. So hopefully we'll get an announcement sometime soon about when this thing is actually going to come, because I don't think it's anytime soon, but we'll see. All right. Joshua Sosa writes, with Bob Iger's comment on not every character getting a trilogy, I hate to ask, but with Carol have hers, you probably mean will Carol have hers? Well, the question about will Carol get a another Marvel's movie or Captain Marvel 3 or something like that. Listen, it all comes down to how does this movie do? So look, we've seen many movies like Elemental, like The Greatest Showman. Do you know how much The Greatest Showman, what its opening weekend box office was? Hold on a second here. The Greatest Showman box office. So The Greatest Showman, there's Box Office Mojo. It opened with, get this, nobody checked, but in the live chat, throw in how much money, how many millions of dollars you think The Greatest Showman opened with. Dat Boy is saying 12 million. It's not 12 million. It's not 12 million. We got Q saying 20 million. It's not 20 million. Dr. Stinky said 30, not 30 million. Michael Gonzalez is saying 40 million. Nope. $8 million. The Greatest Showman opened in 3,000 theaters and only had an opening weekend of $8 million. Do you know how much The Greatest Showman went on to make? The Greatest Showman went on to make $434 million. $434 million. Elemental, the recent Pixar film, it opened to $29 million. $29 million. Flop. You know how much it made? Almost $500 million. Opening weekend of $29 million, but it went on to make almost $500 million at the box office. So, what's the point? The point is, Canadian Spring saying, is that one Black Adam? Yeah, no, that's more than a Black Adam, as a matter of fact. So Greatest Showman opens with $8 million, goes on to make well over $400 million. Is that going to happen with the Marvels? I don't know. All I'm saying is that don't write it off yet. Like, even if it does have a tremendously disappointing opening weekend, which it looks like it will. We've also seen just this year films like Elemental come out, and it's like, this movie's actually pretty damn good. Elemental's a wonderful film, by the way. If any of you haven't seen it, Elemental's wonderful. But a lot of people went, oh my God, this movie's really good. And the word of mouth started to spread. And then week after week after week, it just hung in there and hung in there and hung in there. And all of a sudden, this movie that looked like it wouldn't even make $200 million at the box office made almost $500 million. Is that going to happen with the Marvels? I'm not saying it is. It probably won't. But if the Marvels, and this is a big if the Marvels is really great and people love it, and word of mouth starts getting around like it did with Elemental, like it did with The Greatest Showman, it can make decent amount of money. But to the question of, will Carol get a third film? Man, it's all about how well does this movie do? Not how well does it open, but how well does it do? Will it cap out at $280 million? Or can it get to $570 million? That's going to answer the question about whether or not she gets a third film, but we'll see. All right. Next up, Robert Presser writes, have you seen the Highlander animated series? Nah, I really don't watch anything Highlander other than, because once I saw Highlander 2, which is one of the worst films ever made, and Highlander 3 was definitely much better than Highlander 2, but it wasn't worthy of the Highlander name. And then Highlander Endgame was not, in my opinion, worthy of the Highlander name. And even the TV show, TV show with Duncan MacLeod, it wasn't bad. But it wasn't really I actually even kind of enjoyed it, but it wasn't the Highlander to me. So I honestly wasn't really all that excited or interested in watching an animated thing. By the way, I wasn't even 100% sure that the animated thing was real, but I guess it is. All right. Next up, we got Harvs K, who writes, if enough audiences here take a chance on a foreign language film, Godzilla -1 may surprise, getting great response after opening in Japan. Here's the problem. I don't think I hope I'm wrong. I very well could be wrong. But right now, I don't think you're going to get a big contingent of people out to go see Godzilla -1. Not here in North America. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to kind of be like Five Nights at Freddy's, where everyone who is interested in seeing Godzilla -1 will go out and see it on an opening weekend, and then it will have a mind-blowing second weekend drop-off. Like that's the dirty little secret right now that nobody wants to talk about with Five Nights at Freddy's. It took a 75% drop in its second weekend. I've never heard of that before. I honestly cannot remember ever hearing a movie taking a 75% drop. I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure it has. I'm saying off the top of my head, I can't ever recall hearing about a movie taking a 75% drop in its second weekend. But I think that's what will happen to Godzilla -1. I think it'll have everybody who's interested in it will see it opening weekend, and that'll be it. It'll dry up after that. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the movie's awesome. I hope it is a big success. I hope all movies are, but we'll see. All right. Next up, Yuri Lupin writes, isn't Marvel Spotlight what they've been doing? I haven't really seen much connection between projects except Loki and Ant-Man about our next big bad. Well, here's the thing. It's not about connection. It's about, do you need to know a bunch of stuff before watching it? Because, like, for example, Multiverse of Madness. Heaven help anybody who tried to watch Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness if you didn't watch WandaVision. Because I can't even imagine. It's like, wait, so was Wanda a good guy? What's going on? Why is she good? Why did she become a bad guy? What's going on? Like, you've just got a lot of Marvel now that you need to do homework before watching it. I think one of the points of, oh my God, sorry. Cosmics, I don't know what world you're living in. You didn't need to watch WandaVision? Yes, you did. Sam Raimi said so. Who cares? Sam Raimi's wrong. Like you didn't have to go. You weren't going to be completely lost. You weren't going to be completely lost if you went into Multiverse of Madness without WandaVision. But you were missing massive pieces to the puzzle about what made that story what it is. Like, you just were not emotionally going to be connected to any of it if you didn't see WandaVision. You're just having this random character come in. Why is she doing all this? They'll tell you, but you just won't feel it. I mean, you absolutely 100% to even get, I think to get any real enjoyment out of Multiverse of Madness, you had to watch WandaVision. And that's kind of been what a lot of it, even if a movie isn't connected to the larger MCU, it's about whether movies that are coming out have prerequisites to really fully get it. And that's not the way Marvel used to be. Marvel used to be every single movie was a valid entry point. But, it is what it is. All right. Next up, we've got Todd Kaepernick, who writes, I think Blue Eye Samurai might give Arcane a run for its money. Incredible series. Definitely check it out. I've had a bunch of people writing in lately saying I should check out Blue Eye Samurai. I still have not even seen a commercial for it, so I have no idea what it is, but you're the third or fourth person to write in to say I should check it out, so I'll keep my eye open for it, Todd. Saying it'll give Arcane a run for its money, that's big talk. I don't know that I buy that, because to me, Arcane is the greatest animated show ever, but well, we'll see. Let's see. Carl Jr. writes, John, are you doing an open spoiler for the Marvels? I'm not sure. Because generally speaking, I only like to do an open spoiler discussion for a movie that a lot of people have seen. And I ain't so sure that a lot of people are going to go see Captain Marvel. I'm just not sure. You know what? Let me put up a poll right now. I don't even know if, and by the way, are you going to see the Marvels sometime this week weekend. Okay, so if you're watching live right now, in the live chat, I just put up a poll. Okay? I just put up a poll in the live chat asking you guys if you plan on seeing the Marvels this week or this weekend. And I don't know how many of you are. I mean, if a whole bunch of you are, then yeah, maybe I will do an open spoiler discussion for it on Saturday or something. Let's go take a look, shall we? What are we at right now? So right now, 175 of you have answered so far, and only 64% of you are saying, yes, you're going to go see it. 37, now it's 63%, now it's 64%. 36% of you are saying, no, you are not. So we're a little over 300 votes now. I don't know if that's enough people. You know what? Okay, screw it. I will do a Marvel's open spoiler discussion this weekend. Probably Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. Probably Sunday. By the way, Matthew Taft in the live chat, you're asking, how do you send in a super chat? The super chats are turned off right now. I had the super chats up. The super chats are full up. Once the super chats get full up, I got to turn it off. So I had to turn it off. Sorry about that. All right, let's keep going here. Next up to the people who did get their super chats in. Let's see here. Double B Studio writes, people aren't going to theaters because of COVID. Let's try this again. People aren't going to theaters because of COVID. Babies that were made. I'm serious. A lot of us got a kid. We can't do theaters for at least 2 more years. Well, I mean, that's not, look, I have no kids, but I have many friends who have had many kids, and they were able to find a way to get out, a night a week or a couple of nights a month to go out and see a movie and stuff like that. So if you really want to go see a movie, you can go see a movie. Get your brother to come over, get your sister to come over, get your cousin to come over, watch the kid for an evening, go out see a movie. I'm not saying you need to do that. I'm just saying if you wanted to, you could. But there are a lot of COVID babies out there. There's no doubt about that. Many, many COVID babies, that's for sure. All right. Next up, Rylan Holman writes, I would love to see the MCU beloved characters like Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man and Chris Evans' Captain America return in some capacity. But given the current state of the MCU being less than its usual standard, I can't help, maybe that's a part 1. Yeah, I can't help but feel Marvel bringing them back seems like an unearned and desperate move to distract or make up for the perceptions on the recent product. I'd rather their return be an added treat than a palate cleanser thought. Well, I mean, first of all, I'm all for them coming back simply because it's a good idea to bring them back, right? Like, take everything else out of it. Take out the current state of the MCU. Take out all that kind of stuff. Just in principle, having the heart and the soul of the MCU come back into the MCU can be nothing but a good thing. Now, will it cure all the problems? No. Only making good movies and good TV shows will solve the problems. Like, it doesn't matter whether the character in your movie is Captain America or Captain Buttfuck. It doesn't matter. If you don't have a good script and you don't tell a good story and make a good movie, it won't matter. But all other things being equal, having Captain America and having Iron Man back is in and of itself a good thing. In and of itself, that's a good thing. So I don't know what Captain Buttfuck's costume would look like. I don't know. Somebody's asked me, what would Captain Buttfuck's costume look like? I don't know. I have no idea how you designed that costume. I just made him up. But in and of itself, it is a good idea to have them back. Period. Does it fix the problems? No. Does it make a mediocre, like if you take a mediocre movie and just insert Steve Rogers, does that make the movie better? No, it certainly doesn't make it any worse. It certainly makes it more interesting, but it doesn't make a bad movie a good movie. Now, Josh Sosa saying something that a lot of people think, like Russo brothers directing. But look, I love the Russo brothers. They have been very good to me. They've been very kind to me. They've come into my studio when they didn't have to on a number of occasions. They've always been, I love them. They are wonderful guys. I cheer for them all the time. But they've not really had much success since not working with Kevin Feige, right? Working with Kevin, but there's no doubt magic happens when Kevin Feige is working with the Russo brothers. There's no doubt magic can happen. 100% magic can happen. But I don't think the Russo brothers are necessarily the answer to the problem. I think the problem goes deeper. I think the problem starts in pre-production, overall development, like all that kind of stuff. And look, I've been saying this for years. The main problem that Marvel is facing is that they're doing too much. So they're spread too thin. You only have think of quality in terms of mass. You only have so much quality to hand out. And when you're making 3 projects a year, you've got quality you can pour into it. You got energy, effort, resources that can be focused into 3 projects. But when you're doing 7 projects a year, you're getting spread out. Now, all of a sudden, half of the attention that you put into each movie is now going into your various projects. And I think that's the first thing they need to settle is reduce the number of projects they do so they can actually give more attention and care to each individual project. Something that they haven't been able to do lately. So yeah, there's that. All right, guys, that's all the super chats because I turned the super chats off, but I've got a few minutes here. Anne is out celebrating the birthday of one of her girlfriends right now. So I'm here in my studio, so I'm going to take a few more minutes. And I'm just going to look to the live chat here and see if any of you guys have some questions you want to ask just in the live chat. Yeah, actually, Zelda Master puts it, it's like Bilbo said, butter spread over too much bread. If you guys remember that from the first Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring movie. I feel thin, Gandalf, like butter spread over too much bread. That is an excellent, excellent comparison. That's the MCU right now, Zelda Master. Excellent comparison. Okay. Let's see. Get Russo's for X-Men. I think there's a lot of directors you can get for X-Men. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't complain. If they got them for that, but yeah. Let's see. Dark Knight writes, John, what made more money, your Hulk film or Black Adam? That's a good question. I'm going to guess Black Adam made more money than my Hulk film did. I think the Hulk film made something like in the $300 something million. Somewhere around that. So yeah, we'll see. It's hard, guys. The questions are moving by pretty quick. Johnny Vu says, did you watch the Spider-Man 2 game cutscene movie yet? I have not. I mean, I knew it wouldn't be out right away because someone's got to play through the whole game, take all the relevant footage, edit it all together. But is it actually up now? Is the cutscene movie actually up? I hope it is. Let's see. Datboy 2022 saying, John, here's hoping we get to talk about the strike being over tomorrow. Allah fucking Luya. I mean, I was really happy to hear that the studios watched my show today. And you know what? That Campea makes a lot of sense, saying that we're being idiots for trying to push this AI thing. Maybe we should back off. And it sounds like they backed off. Hopefully that's enough to get a deal done. And we'll see. We'll see. Elias is saying they are so close to that. Yep, I read that a little bit earlier, that with the studios walking back on that they are actually close, that they're close. The Richard Arch writes, does Anne or you enjoy Asian horror? And not so much. I do. The main reason I really appreciate Asian horror is the fact that their filmmakers seem to understand better than North American filmmakers do, that what you don't see is much scarier than what you do see. And I just find that Asian horror filmmakers seem to use atmosphere a lot more effectively. Not than all North American filmmakers, but then generally speaking, I find Asian horror filmmakers seem to get that a little more, understand that. Official Liam G writes, John, what about the directors of Dungeons and Dragons for X-Men? Listen, X director doing X movie, no pun intended. Yeah, the guys who directed Dungeons and Dragons also directed Game Night. They were supposed to direct The Flash. They're actually really good and they did a great job with Dungeons and Dragons. But listen, there's a list of 50 really good directors that I could give you that I would be happy with any of them, right? All I want is a good storyteller working on X-Men. And those guys would certainly qualify. I'd be very happy with them. But yeah, Caleb is saying something I've been saying for years. I want a Mystery Men sequel, 100%. Now, of course, unfortunately, Paul Rubens is no longer with us, who played the Spleen. But Mystery Men is the most ahead of its time movie ever made. I'm not saying it's the best movie ever made, but it was the most ahead of its time. Mystery Men was a movie that was way ahead of its time. And I still to this day think it's a brilliant, brilliant film. Hank Azaria as the Blue Raja, William H. Macy as the Shoveler, Ben Stiller as Mr. Furious, Jeannie Garofalo as the Bowler, Paul Rubens as the Spleen, the Invisible Boy, Casanova Frankenstein, the Disco Boys. I mean, it's just truly, truly a great movie. And I really wish somebody would come along and have the testicular fortitude to remake it, because I think it would be wonderful for them to do. All right, guys. It's getting late, so that'll do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here, guys. By the way, what did you guys think of this new little feature of being able to actually bring up your live chats? I know it's a little thing, and I know there are some others who've been able to do it before, but this is a new thing that I finally figured out how to do, and I kind of like it. So I kind of like being able to bring up and highlight people's messages that they put in there. Johnny Vu saying, awesome feature. I like it too, man. Anyway, thanks a lot for being here. Guys, please make sure you come back tomorrow. Me and Sean Chandler, we're going to be talking about hopefully the end of the actor strike. We're going to be talking about Zelda getting a live action movie. We got a whole bunch of other stuff we're already starting to line up for tomorrow. So please, and by the way, guys, do the standard things. Like the video. I mean, I know you hear all the YouTubers say it and I don't say it very often, but yeah, like the video. That super helps out the channel. Leave a comment down below, share the video around, do whatever it is you guys like to do. So thanks so much, guys, for being here all day and joining me here today. Again, a reminder, Friday, we're going to be doing a Loki Season 2 wrap-up show. So we're going to be doing that Friday afternoon after the John Campea Show. And because you guys asked for it, this weekend we will do the Marvels open spoiler discussion. So join us every day here on the show. Looking forward to seeing you guys later. My name's John Campea. Until next time, my friends, bye-bye.